My name is Nathan Stanley. I'm the athletic director and head football coach at Redmond High School in Redmond, Oregon. This is going to be the first in a series of screencasts about building championship culture using core values in the process. And this is a presentation that I'm going to be doing at the 2017 Nike Coach of the Year Clinic. And I thought I would make this available to people on my blog, smartcoaching.co, as well as people that are in the audience. So hope you enjoy this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. There'll be some contact information at the end of the last presentation as well. So really quickly about me, I've been in education for about 20 years now. This is my 5th year as AD and head football coach, and prior to that I was a head wrestling coach for 13 years, and before that I was an assistant football and assistant wrestling coach. So let's define culture really quickly. And so the definition that I like in terms of breaking it down into key components is that culture is about beliefs, it's about behavior, and it's about the experience that people get and give. And so that's, belief, behavior, and then the end result, the product, the outcome that you're looking for. So to put it into an analogy, I like the analogy that Jay Conger came up with, and he wrote that culture is much like the water in an aquarium. While it is largely invisible, its chemistry and life-supporting qualities profoundly affect its inhabitants. Leaders affecting an organizational transformation must understand the vital role the corporate culture plays, end quote. So when you're looking at the culture in your program, are the beliefs and behaviors resulting in the picture on the left, where the water is pure and clean and life-sustaining? Or are the beliefs and behaviors resulting in a toxic environment that's going to require a lot of cleanup and hard work to overcome? So, again, it's not just what you believe, it's how people behave, and that's something that's going to be important for you going down the line as you implement your core principles, your core values, that you also come up with standards of behavior. So Jeff Jansen, in his book, How to Build and Sustain a Championship Culture, identifies 6 key components. The 2 that I'm going to primarily talk about are core values and aligned systems. But he really focuses in his book about what he calls VVS, which is vision, values, and standards. And so number 2, 3, and 4. So all of these are important. I think that as you look to improve your football program or whatever sport you coach, or whatever your endeavor is, looking at these 6 components and having a specific plan for how to improve them is important. So to talk about the importance of core principles, I'd like to use a story about the celery test. So the celery test is, imagine that you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you go to a mixer with your local Chamber of Commerce, and at the mixer you're bouncing off ideas off other businessmen, and the first one tells you that celery is the way to go, and he goes into great detail on all of the great things about celery and why it's been a consistent earning product over time for him, and that it's timeless and all the different uses and so on and so forth. And the next person you run into talks about M&Ms, and he talks about the merch that you can sell along with the different variations of M&Ms that come in the store. Another businessman talks to you about how Oreos are more addicting than heroin, and that's a true statement. I think that you can look that up, that when people eat Oreos, they get a dopamine rush that's similar to taking drugs. And, it's legal, and I don't know if it's good for you, but it's a good seller. And then the last product that you're kind of interested in is rice milk. And it's seen as an alternative to regular milk, and maybe better for you than both soy milk and almond milk. And so you're really having a hard time deciding which of those products you want to feature in your store. But if I were to tell you that your store was a health food store, then making that decision probably becomes much, much simpler and much clearer. And I think that's what we want to do with core values, is that we want to make decisions. Our behaviors need to be in line with the predetermined values that we have established for our program. And so if integrity is important to your program, and that's a core value, a core principle of your program, then the behaviors that follow and that you're trying to encourage need to be in line with behavior that models integrity. So Simon Sinek, in his book Start With Why, talks about the golden circle, and he believes that really successful corporations, companies such as Apple, begin with why, and why is the purpose. And this is backed up, I think, with Mike Smith and John Gordon's book, Win the Locker Room First, where they talk about the root before the fruit. And so I think really establishing for your program why you do what you do, and then the how and the what, making sure that all of those are consistent, is really important. And it might take a lot of work at the beginning, but I think it will bear good fruit in the end. Here's a quick this is a screenshot of a topic on the Coach Huey message board, and one poster wrote or asked what are the key components of championship culture, and GJ78 says that it's one word: discipline. So let's define discipline and how that applies to what we're talking about. So Tim Kite, who is along with his son run Focus 3, which is a consulting firm that works with corporations and schools and Ohio State football on developing championship culture or elite culture, says he defines discipline as consistently behaving according to a certain set of principles. And so that's exactly what we're talking about here, that discipline, a disciplined program is going to have a set of principles that they consistently behave in line with. And I love this quote that was on their podcast, so Focus 3 podcast, highly recommend it. Tim Kite says that the most powerful force on earth is the cumulative impact of daily discipline-driven behavior over time. So that kind of hopefully sets forth the framework from where we're going to work. So just really quickly, and this is discussed in both on the podcast and in the book Above the Line, this is a basic decision-making or an evaluation process about the behavior that you have. So is your behavior intentional? Is it on purpose? Is it skillful? Which means intentional, you know what you're going to do; on purpose, why you're going to do it; and skillful, how you're going to do it to the best of your ability. And the more you're above that line as opposed to default driven, which is impulsive, which is emotion unchecked, or autopilot, which is habits unchecked, or resistant, which is comfort unchecked, then you're going to have trouble being consistent with your stated core values or your core principles. So I think that that's an important thing for you to identify, and it's a great concept, and it's an easy thing, I think, to share with kids and coaches that they will understand. So what we're going to outline is what Brian Kane calls the MVP process, and I think that this is a great, simple